Welcome to the next session we have for you today. The title is California Public Libraries Provide Tools for Adults to Graduate from High School. We have a distinguished panel for you today. It's going to ask them each to introduce themselves. I'm starting with Gina.
Hello, my name is Gina Robinson, and I am the Career Online High School and Adult Literacy Coordinator for Long Beach Public Library here in Long Beach, California. And I've been there for about 4 years and running the program for Career Online High School for about 2 years now, and we're just starting our adult literacy program.
Thank you.
I'm Susan Broman. I'm the Assistant City Librarian for the Los Angeles Public Library. I've been there for a little over 3 years and was, in my previous life, deeply involved in running Career Online High School and bringing it up at another institution.
Hi, I'm Misty Jones. I'm director for San Diego Public Library, so I did not have far to drive today. And we have been involved with Career Online High School since 2015.
Excellent. So we'll go ahead and start our program today. So we're going to cover a couple of questions, so you won't be surprised. They're all there on the screen. And to kick off the presentation, we have a video. So let's see if we can make this work.
Career Online High School is a program that we sponsor here through the library. It is a free online program for adult students to return to school to complete their high school diploma.
I'm graduating, take my high school diploma and a career.
Sometimes I'll be up till like 2 a.m. just like putting in hours, getting the homework done. It was pretty tough. Yeah, it was worth it.
You know, even with my children, they were my guidance. So they opened up like, hey, Mom, we can do this, we can conquer this, and go for your dream, that what you always wanted to do.
The Long Beach Public Library's free Career Online High School is for adults who live in Long Beach, have a library card, and are aged 19 or older. After a one-time in-person interview, online self-assessment, and a prerequisite course, students are paired with an academic coach to guide them through the 18-month program.
It is fully accredited. They can use this to go to college. It's a very flexible program. It's completely online.
I'm so very proud of each and every one of you this morning, but I want to let you know that this is not the end. This is just the beginning. I want to encourage you to continue to learn and to grow, and let the Long Beach Public Library be a part of that process.
It's so impressive for students to finish an online education.
Because it is a little emotional for me to see you up here in the front row and have your beautiful families and children sitting back there, and knowing that the next generation is going to be impacted because of your hard work, because of your leadership.
I have 2 little boys, and I'm the first one for my family and sisters to finish, so I just wanted to set my family as an example.
With this diploma, it accesses me to a whole new life. It gives me so many possibilities.
All right, graduates, it is now time to move your tassel from the right to the left. This is ideal for someone with family, a full-time job, who just needs to accomplish that goal that they've set for themselves so long ago.
I'll encourage them to try it. If they don't have the time to go to a class, just to try the library.
Congratulations to the Long Beach Public Library Career Online High School graduating class of 2018. If you're ready to expand your career opportunities, re-enter the workforce, or continue your education, get started at lbpl.org.
Okay, so full disclaimer, I wanted my part edited out of the video, but it didn't happen. So I apologize for that. And also quickly, there's a coach, academic coach. It is an online person. It's not a real person standing there shaking your hand as was in the video. So I just want to clarify that. So we kind of kicked this off about what Career Online High School is. Ladies, would any of you like to add to what Career Online High School is for your organization?
Sure. So at LEPL, we've been offering a Career Online High School since April of 2014. We were the first in the country to offer it, and it's a fully accredited high school. I think that's really important for both potential students as well as our funders to have a very good understanding of it. It operates exactly like a high school diploma. It is a high school diploma, and it's good for entry into the Cal State and UC systems as well as for financial aid, which is hugely important. We currently have 225 graduates as of yesterday. Yeah, and 300. Thanks. And we currently have 311 students enrolled. So it's a real opportunity to serve at a very basic level of. There's such a huge payoff for this program.
I think for me, what's unique about this program is one, it's an accredited high school diploma, which we can't say enough because everybody says GED. No, it's not a GED. It's an accredited high school diploma. And the second part is it's a career certificate program as well. So there's a big focus for this program on people who've disengaged from the educational system for some reason, and they address what they call educational trauma. So for students who've dropped out of high school, either because they failed out or they had some type of situation in their life that they've disengaged. And so they have trauma for re-engaging and getting back into that educational space. And what this program does is addresses that. So it shows them the applicability of having a diploma. It really, the coaches walk them through are there to support them. And then they do the career certificate portion first so that they get used to being back in the educational space and back to taking classes and learning. And then they finish. And just like Susan said, their credits transfer. So if they dropped out in the middle of the 11th grade, then they start back in the middle of the 11th grade and finish out those credits to get their diploma.
And I think one of the other things that's really unique about the program is that it is scholarship based. The libraries receive funding through California State Library, but also from their library foundations or other funders. And it gives us the opportunity to extend the scholarships to the students at no cost. The cost of the program is about $1,200 to $1,500 per student. And when they go through the enrollment process with us, we're able to give that to them for free. And that is usually the biggest caveat for most of these students going back to school. They have been wanting to do this, but they can't afford adult school. They can't afford the GED programs. And also the GED programs run the risk of not being reputable and being diploma mills. So to have a program that's paid for and vetted by their local library, that in itself, I think, is incredible.
Thank you. Did you want to add anything back to that, Susan? You're good?
Yeah.
So I'm sure this program is running really, really smoothly, right? No problems, no issues.
No problem.
Not necessarily. Anybody want to speak to that?
I will. Really, it does. Surprisingly, it runs really smoothly for us. I think that the way that we do the program is we really pay special attention to people in the beginning because the scholarship is $1,200 to $1,500 and you're making a significant investment. The last thing you want is to give a scholarship to someone who's not going to see the program through. So they do the prerequisite, they do a prerequisite course, and then they have an online face-to-face interview where we actually make them come to the Central Library, schedule an interview, come and talk. They meet with 3 staff members, so we have a panel. One is our adult literacy coordinator, and they really stay on them as well as their coaches staying on them because we want people to succeed. We have had some people that have not followed through, and we've had to withdraw those scholarships, and that's always a difficult. We've had to turn people down because they weren't necessarily the right fit. They weren't ready. You have to have you have to be able to read it at 8th grade level. So sometimes they have to stop and go into our adult literacy courses. We have to refer them. And then funding is always an issue. With everything that we do, funding is always an issue. We've been lucky enough in that we pay for it out of our general fund, the platform, and then our Library Foundation pays for the scholarships. So,
Yeah, I think funding is a huge issue with this, as with absolutely everything in libraries and everything else, right? The fact that there's matching grants through the state library is enormously helpful in going to our funders, because it shows that not just LAPL has an interest in this, but it's a priority for the state library as well. I think that's really important. And it's an expensive, high touch program. It involves quite a bit of staff time, especially as Misty said up front. But it is unbelievably rewarding. Probably one of the biggest challenges is when we get students who just disappear. They ghost us basically. They've been progressing, they've been in touch, they're getting close, and then they just fall off the map for whatever reason. So sometimes if there's extenuating circumstances and they let us know, we can suspend things and make it so that they can finish. But it's super frustrating to staff when all of a sudden, there's just no way of contacting people. Misty talked about the educational trauma around this, and that's another big challenge. This is a community of people who know that they can fail at this already. Like they've already failed at getting a high school diploma at least once, and sometimes several times. And it takes a lot of, and part of the reason of what we do is like, you can succeed at this. Here are other people who succeeded at this. We share lots of success stories with our current students, and really showing them that this is a thing they can do is an enormous part of this project. And then I could talk about promotion, but why don't you? Go ahead.
One of our challenges, because I do the interviews with the students who come in, and one of the reasons that they leave high school in the first place overwhelmingly is a lot of these students are becoming caretakers for parents and family members. And oddly enough, that role hasn't changed much into their adulthood. So that is a major challenge, but the workaround is that this is an online program, which it gives them the flexibility to do a little bit here and a little bit there. If it is 2 a.m., they can be up. And I always tell them, if you want to work in your pajamas at 2 a.m. on the couch, like that's how you can do your homework. Just get it done. So I think the open communication and letting them know that the expectation is not that they have to sit and do it all in one stint, but that they can do it at their convenience is it helps alleviate some of the challenge in completing the program.
I'd like to hear a little bit about promotion.
Yeah, so promoting this program is actually quite difficult because it is a very narrow target audience. So a couple of years ago at LAPL, we decided to put some dollars behind promoting this very important program, and did a whole marketing plan surrounding this. We targeted outreach to areas where the demographics tended towards more people in blue-collar jobs, and in areas where the schools were showing lower rates of graduation. We have print ads that include bus stops, billboards, print materials, of course. We have PSA videos and radio ads. And then we also know that this is our target audience is an audience who is probably a little more familiar or a little more comfortable with being online and being on computers. So we did a lot of Facebook, Google ads, Twitter ads as well, really targeting this specific group. We made a conscious decision to have it be representative of the groups that we were targeting, and try to use a lot of different languages, so a lot of different types types of words. It sounds dumb, but we played a lot with the wording on this. So one of the things, for example, we found is that calling it a free program was counterproductive. That undervalued what it was. If we used that it was a scholarship program, that really upped the response rate to ads and click-throughs. We also completely revised our landing page on our website so that it is more of a kind of a sales page with a strong call to action rather than a whole bunch of information about what it is and who's eligible. And like if once they get there and they're like, hey, this looks interesting, they can click through and find all the rest of that information. And then we made sure that every single member of our staff can talk about Career Online High School. And that plays out. We also do a survey to find out how people found out about it. And 16% of them found out about it from library staff. 16% of them also found out about it from Google. So like we're, librarians are the first Google. It's right there. And word of mouth is huge as well. A lot of the people who responded, like literally listed people, they heard about it. My aunt, my mother-in-law, my friend, about who they heard it from. So that was and we really found a huge bump in our use of Career Online High School as a result of our decision to put some money into this.
Excellent. Can anyone speak to student motivation? I see that as a particular top challenge.
Go ahead. I found that making the effort to make personalized emails, though it is a lot of work, depending on the number of students you've got, the personal email rather than the batch email where they can clearly see that it was CC'd or BCC'd to them, that has made a huge difference for me in graduation attendance to support workshops and programs at the library, and just getting responses. I mean, it's kind of staggering how many emails you can send out to schedule an interview but not get a response sometimes. But yeah, the more personal the email, the better.
Yeah, I agree. The more personal the touch, the better. And that's why we run it really out of our literacy program, because they have a very kind of nurturing environment there. Things that we do is we create individual ID tags for our students so that they can go to any branch library and they actually have the ability to use laptops there for an unlimited period of time if they have their student ID with them. So we have a little bit of a special treatment for the students, give them some perks. The graduation ceremony for me is an absolute that you do. They should definitely have the same experience as anyone graduating high school. So we have a huge graduation with a big reception every year with that. And then again, it's like you said, it's sharing the stories of other people, and we make promo videos all the time and send that out just so that we can, let people know how rewarding it's going to be. It's hard. It's going to be hard work, but it's going to be rewarding.
Okay. So now let's talk about some best practices.
This goes to graduation again.
Yeah.
And just every program is now doing a graduation. We are now doing it twice a year. We have 25 to 30 students each time. It is a full-on graduation. Move the tassel, have the procession, the whole deal. Our leadership at our library, John Zabo, our city librarian, and is a huge champion of this program. But so is our mayor, so is our Board of Library Commissioners president, both of whom have spoken at graduation. And in fact, our mayor has been at 3 of the 4 of our graduations. And you know how mayors are, they're usually in and out. He stays for the entire time and takes a picture with every single graduate. I mean, that's just really incredible support for this program. We also find that a good practice is to schedule graduation as far in advance as possible, so that students know that when it is coming and the deadline dates to be able to participate in graduation as far in advance as possible, so that we can really, so that's something that people can work towards. We also do newsletters. Because we have a lot of students and we have a couple people who are working on this, but still, 300 is a lot of personal emails. But we do do a monthly newsletter that focuses on success stories of alumni, as well as tips for success and stories about graduation and information about other library services. We started using a reminder app to send text messages, that does a text message blast for specific things, as well as a reminder email at milestones. So we send out an email for every 4 weeks or every 4 months, if you're 8 months, 12 months, etc., on getting things done. That really has helped a lot too.
There's two things I wanted to mention was Misty already mentioned the lack of computer time limits. So typically our library limits every patron to 2 hours on the computer, but we've got specific areas within each library for what we call our Family Learning Center. And it's just an area that you can go and use the computer if you're working on jobs or homework, and they will take off all computer time limits. So our students who do work on premises at the library, they can stay there all day long in a nice quiet area and work as much as they would like. And then go to talk about the personalized motivation emails. One of the other emails that I tend to send out to students when they approach finishing, when they're about 80% done, is I start to share my network with them. I send them an email with resources to our city college, to the university, and also to our workforce development team in the city, so that they can transition over to make the best use of those resources.
That's one of the things that we are working on now. So they've talked about graduation, which I'll just add, I cry every time. As soon as the pomp and circumstance, it's fantastic experience. But what we're doing now, and what the one thing that I really am interested in and focusing on, is what is the step after they get their diploma, and how can we assist with that? How can we, direct them to whatever it is, if they want to go to secondary, if they want to go to college, if they are looking for a career, if there's additional training that they can do for, even the career that they're in. How can we then not have that be, it's just like you said in the video, this is not the end, it's just the beginning, and how can we help them continue that beginning?
Excellent. So I'm sure the program has been pretty static, right? Not necessarily.
No.
There may have been a few changes, so let's hear about that.
That's my mayor.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So, and one of my library staff. So that's an interesting, not coincidence, but thing that we discovered is we actually talked about this just to San Diego city staff, and we have a lot of city staff that are enrolled in the program.
That's great.
And it is usually, some of our kind of Parks and Rec staff or people, and and they enroll and then they get promoted. And so that is, that's been a great thing to see. The curriculum has improved. So in the beginning, I think they had some kind of outdated language in there, and they've fixed a lot of that. People are very tech savvy, and they expect for you not to use antiquated language in your learning, and so they've done that. But the more career choices for the career certificates, that's the biggest thing for me, was that they added more career choices. They have like childhood education, but they also added like Homeland Security, and then they just have a general a general track. So that was really kind of responding, and they're actually looking at adding more responding to the students.
And I think one of the newest ones that they've added is in home care, which, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our students leave because they are taking care of family members. And believe it or not, that care that they extend to family members in high school often sparks an interest in a career as like an LVN or a home care specialist. And most of them would love this career, and then by the time that they finish, they're ready to go on to the community college and become a registered nurse.
That's awesome.
One of the changes, again, because we started so early, I think one of the things we thought early on is that we were going to just be overrun, and we were going to like run out of money almost immediately. And so we constructed things to throttle use rather than to really grow it. So that's been one of the big changes, I think, for us, to really look at things, like look at every part of this program to figure out what are the barriers and remove those barriers wherever possible. And I think too, for just in implementing things, I think it ended up having a lot more staff time than originally anticipated. Yes. And doesn't everything, and using staff time in a very smart way as well. So.
Okay, so let's talk about what Career Online High School means to the community. I think we have another short video.
Took over all care of his father, who was disabled.
That's a lovely looking class right there, I tell you. Very, very impressive. So would any of you like to talk about the direct experience you've seen, the impact on the community for Career Online High School to your community?
Sure, I can go. It's to hear the individual stories is incredible, and I love that video because it's just a touch of what these people are, once they get their diploma, then they have these aspirations after. But for one of the best, and I love it because it's never too late. And that's the message that we see again and again from students. It's never too late. In our last graduating class, we have one of our graduates is 64 years old, and he was part of our adult literacy program. He only had an 8th grade education, went to the 8th grade and dropped out in the 8th grade. Only person in his family not to graduate from high school, but promised his mother that he would graduate. And his mother has passed, so she wasn't here to see it, but he kept that promise. And, he went through our adult literacy program, had never read a book cover to cover. Went through the adult literacy program for 5 years and then ends up with his diploma. So and he had 50 people come to the graduation. Wow. I mean, his entire family came to that graduation, and they were like, he was an 18-year-old walking across that stage. It was, they were so excited for him. And that's just one person. And he was so incredibly proud of himself and was ready to take on the world. And that, I think, is the experience that we have with all of them. And then just the broader community, as we all know that that education means people have better paying jobs,
Absolutely.
which means they pay more taxes, which means it's better for your economy.
Absolutely.
And so that's something that is this is an easy program to sell because of that, because one, you're giving people an opportunity to better themselves, but you're also bettering your overall community.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that economic impact, which is what I was going to mention, I think we were discussing the cost of what it takes, like how much it affects the economy when a student doesn't finish high school, and it's something up around $234,000 per individual. So the economic impact is huge. And to bring it down to a more personal level, we just had our 4th graduation at our library. And afterward, one of our students came up to us and said, Gina, remember during that interview when I told you I had interviewed for a job and I'm trying to get out of working at an oil refinery and I wanted to work for the power plant. They offered me the job. Then they did my background check. They actually ran it and they found that I hadn't finished high school. They declined and rescinded the offer. He finished his diploma, and literally a month after he finished, that power plant reopened the same position, and he applied again, and they offered him the job over the phone. He didn't have to come back in for an interview, and instantly he was making almost double what he had made before, just with a high school diploma. And that was incredible, and I cried, and it was great.
Yeah. And you cry a little
And I went back to work thinking, I'm going to get all the students now. But it makes a huge difference.
So we do a survey of our graduates about 8 months after they leave, after their graduation. And right now, in the last survey we did, about 40% of the graduates have already enrolled in higher education. 35% said they have a better or more satisfying job. And 40% of them say they're earning more money than they were previously. And I think this is a really interesting one. 65% of the current students who respond say they currently have a job. That number rose to 75% for the alumni survey. So again, there's more employment, helps the economy. And I, of course, have to share some success stories as well, because and we encourage our staff to come to graduation because there is such a visible demonstration of what libraries can do. And so we had one gentleman who came to the library every single day. He spent his nights outside of the library every night. He was homeless for about 5 years. When he would come into the library, go to the art center, read books about art, do some sketching. He saw the information about Career High School. He had only completed through about 9th grade of high school. So he got started. He used the computers in our literacy center. He was able to, one of the things he says is, every time I came in, you always gave me respect, and I thank you for the motivation I needed to continue. He continued his thing. He said when people asked him what he was going to do when he graduated, he said, I'm going to cry. And he said, I did, yeah. He is now planning to go to Trade Tech Community College. He has an interest in tailoring and photography, and he'd love to get an art degree. And I love this advice, which is actually really helpful advice that I'm going to totally use personally. He says, anybody who wants to do this, it can be done. He says, if you have a favorite quote or a favorite saying, use that as your password, because you will type it every single day as motivation, which is a great idea. Such an inspiring story, and a well-known person to all of our staff members. There's another woman, though, who's probably my favorite story. Again, she dropped out of high school, just couldn't deal with it. We have lots of inspiring stories about people who are doing this for their children and grandchildren. I love her story because she's like, I was a high school dropout and spent my early adult years jumping from one dead-end job to another. I became self-taught expert in bookkeeping, property management, web design, graphic design, and many other things. The pay was always entry level. Sometimes I knew more than my supervisors, and they received the credit for the work I did. When you read through the rest of her interview, you can just hear the anger that she has for this situation. She hit dead end after dead end. She couldn't apply for financial aid because she didn't have a high school diploma. She was on a waiting list for a program that would fit in with her work schedule, and it had a 9-year-long waiting list. This is in Los Angeles, which is a highly resourced area, as you can imagine, for in other areas. She finally got connected with Career Island High School. She went through the program. She moved a few weeks before ending and was literally finishing her classes, sitting in Starbucks or even on her cell phone at night. And she finally finished. And I love the thing that she had to say. She says, you can lose your job any day, but your education stays with you until you die. And without your high school diploma, all doors to success are very hard to open. And again, there's just story after story of the very, very direct impact that this has on people's lives.
Thank you. That's a very fitting quote to end this session. We're going to pause and see if there are any questions from the audience at this time. Gentleman over there. Right.
How widespread this program is and how local libraries can get involved.
So it is nationwide. It actually is part of a larger, so it started in Florida with incarcerate in prisons. So, and then it's been moved into now we call Career Online High School the public library aspect of it. But it's nationwide. I think they have 160 or some odd public libraries across the nation now that are involved. But it's through a company called CENIC runs the Career Online High School portion for public libraries. And it's basically a subscription. It's like a database that you pay to have the platform and host the platform at your library. CENIC. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, question at the back.
And then you're going to say, and.
I think you hit on it kind of briefly. I work in K-12. So a question that's going to my mind is, what happened to the K-12 adult ed? You know, I know you said some of them have tried the system, so to speak. So I'm just curious about that and how your relationship was with the K-12, because bottom line is it's ADA, right? And that affects the local school district if they don't get that, but maybe they weren't fitting a need. And do you guys get compensation back from the state like an ADA, like a school district does?
Yeah, no. So the way that that it works in San Diego, and this is probably true for the rest of California, is that the students in the San Diego Unified School District can continue on to get their high school diploma until they're, I believe it's 20. It's 20 or 21, and after that they can't continue in the school system anymore. So they either have to do an adult school, which is GED, or engage in this program. And like they were saying, the GED program, particularly for people who have educational trauma and who have disengaged for some reason or been out of school for a very long time, the GED program is hard. It is expensive for the testing, it's expensive for the classes, and it's very difficult, and it is a pass or fail, right? This program, you can't fail. They will not allow you to fail. And that's the difference in this program. And the average student that we have, single mothers, and about between 27 and 35 is the average.
Yes.
And it's not that students are just passed. If they struggle, they retake classes until they finish, and they are paired with, they have an online tutor that they can access to help them understand the content. And then I always push this benefit to students who complete their work on premise at the library, is that we offer free tutoring as well to make sure that that subject matter is sticking.
So where's the compensation for the student? Is it ADA or no?
No.
We have no compensation.
We do have some matching grants, like we said, from the California State Library, but that is at our state level that decides to do that. So we don't get any compensation or any reimbursement.
And is
for this
there
program.
credentialed teachers overseeing this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So, the students are paired with an online advisor as well. So the curriculums are all created by credentialed teachers. The online tutor / counselor is a credentialed teacher. And then in our instance, we reached out to the school district when we first started this, just to kind of loop them in, and really we're serving different audiences. The adult school system in Los Angeles and this tend to be a different audience. Our SKU is much older, and they complement each other well. One of the things that when I was talking to a friend who works in adult school in another district, she said they tried doing an online program, but the graduation rates were so low, they ended up having to discontinue it. Part of the advantage of going through the library is that library support structure. The library is there in your community, and you can walk in and get help and things at any point. And I think that's a really helpful part of this particular program.
And then on the tech side, the system, is that like a national library tool that you use, or is it one that you guys selected and you pay a vendor for the online system itself?
Right.
Yeah, it's a vendor. It's Cengage is the vendor, and we purchased the platform from them. So, and the parent company is Smart Horizons, which is based in Florida. So that's and they're actually created basically a school district. So.
Okay, I have one question if no one else has one. So we're here at the CENIC conference and we're talking about Career Online High School. What's the connection? What is the link? What is the benefit?
Well, for us, it's an online program. So you have to have really fast broadband if you're going to have all of these students. And usually what happens is you will say that you think that the students are going to do this at home. And the majority of the time they do end up in the library doing their coursework.
The city of Long Beach recently did put out a survey to all residents assessing how many families or households are actually connected to the internet, and we have close to 16% of our residents have no access to internet. And so our libraries are full; they're packed every single day. Our computers are all it's a wait list constantly. So we have the room, we have the computers. And they're coming in to use them.
Including the Wi-Fi. Even if they have their own device, they're using Wi-Fi.
They still come. Yeah.
Okay, I think one last question before we have to close the session.
All I want to say is thank you for taking my questions. And nice job.
You're welcome. Thank you all very much for coming. Thank you, panelists. Excellent job.